Alright, so today we're going to be stepping you through how to install remote start on these late model Jeep Grand Cherokees. It's actually not a hard process, it's really straightforward. It does require special logins for this product to work, but it is really cool now that we have these T-harnesses, only a couple of wires to do, and it's pretty quick. So let's step you through that and see what we do on a daily basis. So, to make this work off the factory remote control, we actually need to plug into the main start button on this car and a couple of wires. So we're going to show you that. So what we do is just pull the steering wheel out and up and out of the way. And this shroud around here can actually just pop forward. So we can actually just pull this out and this will pop right off. And once that's done, you actually got a bit of room here to put your hands in. And what we're trying to do, there's a start button on the left-hand side here. This is where the actual car is started. So you can actually see that there, Dave's zooming in, there it is here. And what we want to do, directly behind that is a barrel, and there's a plug in that barrel that's actually from the bottom. So we're gonna reach in and unplug that, and then I'll give you a look at what the button actually looks like. So we just reach in here, push the button on the back of the barrel, and it releases this plug. So can you see that there? So there you have it, guys, and there's a little locator on top of it that you just press to unplug it, and it's very simple to do, and that's half the install done. So check this out, this is the new harness that we have. So we can't actually send these ones out, these kits. We can only do them in our store in Sydney because it does require two-stage programming. We may have some dealers in a state that will take us up and do the process as well. But just basically T-pieces in. And now I've got this other section that will plug back into the barrel. So we're gonna reach up and under, and it just goes in this way with the button facing back and plugs straight in. So let's plug it in. Okay, that's done. So we've got all this nice and loomed up. Now the next step in the process is we just have to go to the OBD connector, your universal diagnostics port. And we're also going to wire in some parking lights just on the back of this switch here. So what we might do is we might put the wiring through here first where the actual parking lights has to be, and that'll allow us to mount this up a little bit later as well, and then we'll run down and show you the OBD. So we're actually going to pop this cover off, and the easiest way to do that is actually pull this pinch weld out of the way. It's designed to come off. And then we can put this non-marring pry bar, so you can use a plastic pry bar, whatever it is, just a plastic spatula basically, just so you don't mark anything. And you can actually pop it off and out and then down. You pull it down because there's a little locking tab up the top. So when you're gonna go back in, you're gonna slide it up under that first, and then you're gonna go straight in and put your pinch weld back on. So you're just gonna reverse the process, but it's just a couple of clips that hold it on. It's very easy to do. Once you've done that, you can actually pop this little light out, this little switch. So this is just for your parking light. You can sit your hands behind it and just push it forward. Just sort of cup it in your hand on the front to make sure you're not going to let it scratch anywhere. And we've got a couple of wires here. You can just push the tape back and we can tape it up later. We're just going to connect into one of these wires, and that will allow the parking lights to come on when the car is actually remote started. So it's very easy. We might actually just undo this at the moment. And you just push this out and you can unplug it. So just push the red tab out and then push it like a button. So I'll show you that again for the camera. So it locks in, so push it back, then push it down and release it, and that's your lights out of the way as well. So once we get to that stage, we've just got to route the wires through. So you can actually get your hand in and push it through. There we go. I find it easier to pull the cables out here just to start with. We're going to use one of these wires here, so there's a couple of wires. We're actually going to use one of these, and it's going to connect onto the light. All right, so the wire that you're going to be using is the white brown wire. So the other ones here you can actually just cut off, so we can actually just insulate them. So we're just going to cut them off individually at different lengths, and that way they're never going to touch when we tape it up. And we're going to use that white brown wire, and it's going to go here onto the first pin on the back of the plug, which is actually white green. Okay, so we're going to solder that on. I'm going to strip it back. We have some wire strippers here. Strip that back and connect it. And this is just a battery powered soldering iron, and we're just going to heat that up. Takes a couple of seconds. Slowly, there we go. The best way to solder is actually put your soldering iron behind the wire and heat the wire up, and then push the solder into the actual wire connection. And that will ensure that you get a really good solder. So we're using tester tape again, and we use it in all our videos with just cloth tape. You can actually insulate that. So the cool thing about these kits is they don't void any warranty because they are a plug and play harness on the main ignition barrel, and these other two wires, they just actually tap in. Okay, so they're very easy. It doesn't affect anything on the vehicle, won't void any warranty, doesn't change anything. It just basically activates these new features. So that's all taped up nice and neat, so we can actually push that back through. And these are our main plugs that are going to plug into our module here. So we do have to do 2 more wires which are on the OBD. Once we've done this, we're going to push it out this left-hand side so we can actually plug in the parking lights back in. And the next process is to get under here where the OBD connector is. We're just going to pull that cover down and get to those 2 wires. So I'll grab a light so that we'll be able to see that and show that to you as well. Okay, so we've got to get to the OBD now. So what we have is off the center here where we ran that plug, we have a brown, yellow, brown, red. And this is just your CAN bus wires, and they're going to go to that OBD that's down the bottom. So we're going to route them down there. But first step is we just undo a cover. So all you got to do is pull on this little flexible cover, and there's a little locking tab that just pushes in. It's just a pinch weld sort of, not a pinch weld, sorry, a push lock. You just push it in and it locks away. But that'll give you plenty of room to work with. And what we're going to undo is the OBD connector. So I'll grab the camera here from Dave and we'll show you. So here's the OBD, and the way you undo it is you just push these little located tabs on either side. You squeeze them together or do one side first, and it releases the OBD. So you can see that there. Little bit fiddly. Once you pull that down, we're actually going to connect to pin 4 and 14, and that is the yellow wire. So here you can see the yellow wire and the grey white wire. Now this is pretty easy to remember when we run these cables down, because we're going to go the brown yellow to the yellow, and we're going to do the brown red to the white and grey. So I'm going to show you how we route that down quickly, and I'm going to solder them on. So you can literally just put your hand in, reach it down, very easy to get to, and you're down. All right, and then we're just going to bear those back, and again we're going to strip these wires and connect to them, and then solder and tape them up so they're nice and neat. This doesn't affect anything on the OBD on the car, doesn't affect any diagnostics for when it goes into Jeep, nothing like the sort. So the easiest way to do this is just do one at a time. So we've just stripped the yellow one, and we're going to do the brown yellow. And the reason you do one at a time is just so you don't short anything against each other, because these are data wires, although they're very, very low voltage, constantly moving back and forth, there is always sort of power running through there. So best not to short it on anything if you've got bare wires. So just going to solder this one up, and then we're going to move over and do the other one. One at a time, a bit of patience. And there we have it. So if you're soldering, you just make sure you don't drop any solder anywhere. There's one done. So we'll tape that up. Then we do the brown red to grey white. I'm going to solder that one up. Once we solder that up, we're actually just going to put tape around all the wires there, and we're going to plug it back into the original position. And there we go, it's nice and soldered. So if you guys have never soldered before, you can put stuff down under the, like put a cover here just so you don't drop it and burn anything. We don't actually drop anything, so pretty good. All right, so it's nice and neat. You can put a bit of tape around the whole thing, just to keep it looking factory. And then we're going to push that back in. And done. Push this cover up and over. These sit behind, nice and neat. And there you go, back to the original position. So from here, now what we need to do is do some programming. So we've actually loaded firmware on these modules earlier, which is kind of cool. And all we need to do from here is go into the programming process. So we're going to plug this in and we're going to start the program. So these colored ports, they just go into only one port. You can't get them wrong. Very easy to do. All right, now we're on to the programming process, which is a little bit involved. So we're going to step back and show you that. I'm going to pause there. Yep. So the programming on this, it is a little bit of a process, but it's actually not that hard to do. So what we're going to start by doing is we're actually going to open and close the door. Okay, so what this does is it wakes up the CAN bus in the actual computer in the car. Once we've done that, we're going to hit unlock on the remote, and you'll see that the green light would have flashed just in the corner. So it was a very quick green flash. I hope you saw it. Now, if you ever stuff this process up, there is a way to reset the programming, but shouldn't have to. Now, the next step is we're actually going to open up this key, which you can actually push down on the back of the Jeep button, and you can slide the key out. And made that look hard. There you go. Undo that. Once you got that, you can actually open these keys up. So this is where your battery is, and we're going to use that pry bar again. You sort of push it in here, and it's a little bit tight, but there you go. Push it in, and you can open up the key. Once you've opened up the key, we're going to remove the battery. So you can remember which way it goes in. So positive on the upside, but there is a positive in here. Hey, this is cool if you ever need to change your batteries in your remote as well. Now, we're going to put this back together. And the next step is we're actually going to push this against the button in the car. So we're going to pause the video and go around the other side so you can actually see that happen. There's two things you want to see when you do this. Now, you got to be looking at the light here because it will actually light up red the first time we do this. So we're going to take the head of the key and push it against the button. There's a receiver behind there. And you push it twice, and as you can see there, the red light lit up. And it should say run on the button, and your reds will come up on the dash. So then you turn it off, and then you're going to do it once more. And as you can see there, it's flashing green rapidly. All right, so that's basically saying it's read the information from your car. Now we're going to take that to the computer, we're going to send that away, we're going to decrypt it, and then we're going to load it back into the car so that we can add this remote start feature to it. All right, so now we've taken that module to the computer. This is a PC computer. You can't actually do it on it from a Mac. It actually does need a special plug-in for the internet browser, and we have a special programmer. So we plug that in, and as you can see here, read all the information from the vehicle, and then we proceed to submit the data that we just read out of the car. So this will actually flash it, so it will send it away, decrypt the data that we've read out of the vehicle. Basically, it reads like the VIN number and a couple other things and just determines the key decryption. And this will flash through. And when that's completed, then we're going to go back to the car. And again, we're going to do a second step on the car and just program the module back to the car again. And that's pretty much it, and it should work. All right, so the next step is we've got the module flashed now. So we're going to plug that back in. And there's the last stage of programming. We're going to open and close the door again, wake that CAN bus up. All right, and we're going to grab our key once more, and we're going to show you from this side, but you should be able to see this light up green. Now, we're just going to take the key and push it on the button again. So I'm actually going to show you from this side. Once, twice, you push the key. And if you've all done it right, it should light up green. Let's try again. There we go. So we just had to do a little bit slower then, and it worked. So that lit up green, all programmed to the vehicle. Now what we can do is we can test it before we pack it up. So we have to open up our key, put our battery back in. Let me grab my pry bar quickly and we'll put it back together. And we do have to program one more thing, which is we need to read the level of the tacho in the car so it knows when it's actually started. So just fix my watch, put the battery back in, close that up, put the key back in. Now, once that's done, we can start the vehicle. And we're going to learn the level of the tack. And the way that's done is foot on the brake. You're going to press the button here on the side of the module. And it'll go red. You see it red here. And it'll read green once it's read the tacho level. So there you go. Flashing green. It's all been learnt. And we can turn that off. And we can try it out. So what we'll do is we'll shut it. We should be able to hit lock 3 times. And it should start. And there you go. So really this job is it's not a real long job. When we're actually working on the vehicles without interruptions, it's a 15 minutes to half an hour install. We can add long range remotes to that, all sorts of different things. We've got a series of about 10 different remotes, but really, really cool setup. You can actually shut it down from here. So that'll you can just take it over and drive away. They're really safe actually. If someone had that door open, so we unlocked it by accident, the car's running, someone jumped in it and touched the foot brake without the factory key, it will shut down as well. So it's got a lot of security. It's not losing anything from the car, you're just adding to it, which is really, really cool. So there you go. So one last step, we're just going to pack it up. So what we do is we actually put this module in behind here, we're going to tie it up, then we're going to plug it all back in. So we're going to, don't forget to plug your lights back in, push that in and put the cover back on. And she's all tied up, nice and neat, ready to go. But these modules, these themselves have lifetime warranty as well, which is kind of cool. And yeah, just long range stuff. You don't start from inside your house and have your car ready. Like on cold mornings, it's all warmed up, or on hot summer days, it's all cooled down. You can use it anywhere. So it's really, really cool. So there you have it, guys. That job is nice and neat and packed up now. And as you can see, remote start, it is brilliant. Works every time, 3 presses, really cool kit. Almost plug and play, very close to being completely plug and play. Really only a 15-minute install for, when you're working straight on the vehicle, but you do need that special program in order to work. So we offer this in Sydney in our store, Carbon Car Systems. But it's kind of cool little insight into how that's done.